So let me go back to the beginning. When John Wrights invited me to join the board of the YCC as chair, it was a special moment for me for two reasons. The first is because I knew of his work. I'd read his work as a law student on the separation of powers, really important to me, influential to me in my thinking on the subject. The second reason why it was a special moment is because I had been searching for that kind of opportunity without knowing where to find it. And so when John said, "Richard, we'd like you to chair the YCC," for me it was a very special moment, as I say, because it allowed me to work with other excited younger scholars in comparative law to help build this community. And that's in fact what's happened. I mean, here in New Orleans, the YCC is hosting its 5th annual global conference. It's come a long way as an institution. We started off in 2011 with a board of 5 persons. We then grew the group of leadership to include 3 advisory groups, and then we multiplied the number of people involved in our community. Today we have over 100 scholars from around the world gathered here at an event hosted brilliantly by Sally Richardson. So this, I think, is the culmination of a dream that many of us had for what the YCC could be. And the great thing is that it's going to get even better because we have great leaders in the YCC on the board. We have great institutional support from the ASCL leadership. And the most exciting thing is that a lot of places where I've traveled outside of the United States, people know about the YCC. So let's not think that it's just an American-based organization. It's really become a global organization with interest from all corners of the world. And that's a testament to the support of people like Patrick Glenn, the late Patrick Glenn, John Wrights, and of course David Gerber, all of whom have been just so encouraging and supportive of younger scholars. And let's not forget the current board of the YCC, because that's where the work happens, is at the board level. And they're just an incredible collection of scholars and entrepreneurial academics. And so a long answer to your question, but I think it's an exciting time to be a comparative law scholar. People often ask me, what is it about public law that interests you? And my answer today is different from what it was, let's say, 10 years ago when I was in law school or just finishing law school. My answer then was, well, public law is interesting because I'm interested in how we structure power. I'm interested in the relations between citizens and their state. My answer today is similar but different in the following sense. Today, my answer is informed by my lived experiences of traveling around the world, my interactions with scholars, not only in person, but over Skype, over email, exchanging papers and talking about how different countries have to grapple with similar questions. And so today, when someone asks me about public law, I say that the future of public law is necessarily going to be comparative. We have to draw from each other's lived experiences to inform how we address similar challenges. And so for me, it's a very exciting time to be a younger scholar in public law, because really, where once upon a time, the resources that you look to help answer a question or two were purely domestic, now it's the entire universe that is relevant to you in answering a particular question, to resolve a dispute, or to try to understand the scope of a certain right. The universe is your library, and the YCC is bringing that library to everyone in a number of ways through a number of new initiatives that the current YCC leadership is pursuing. So there's going to be a new online database, as I understand it, where scholars can interact, upload their bios, all their papers, a great way to locate someone around the world, in any part of the world, that has an interest similar to yours. This is how collaborations begin. At the ASCL level, senior scholars and junior scholars are connected. in a mentorship program. I mean, these are the kinds of things that help move along younger scholars into more senior roles. But it's also the kind of thing that will help break down barriers to the extent they still exist between countries. And so it's a fantastic, I think, opportunity for anyone to get involved with the YCC. So next year, the YCC Global Conference will be held in Turkey. This is very, very exciting. The first time that the YCC has held its annual global conference outside of the United States. Let me tell you a bit about the bidding process for getting the YCC conference. And that in and of itself should tell you something, that there in fact was a bidding process to host this thing. It's not like the YCC is going to an institution one after another begging, can we please have this here? No, people are coming to the YCC to host the conference. I mean, this is very, very exciting. And so we've come a long way since 2012 when we held the first annual YCC Global Conference. We called it the first annual because we had hoped that it would become what it is today, an annual event that travels not only across institutions, but indeed across countries. And so the first one was at George Washington in 2012. The second was at Indiana McKinney School of Law. Third was at Lewis and Clark Law School. The fourth last year was at Florida State University. And this year, of course, we're in Tulane in New Orleans. Last summer, the summer of 2015, we put out a call for expressions of interest for people who wanted to bid on the conference to host it starting in the year 2017. It turns out that we got so many strong applications from people who said, we want to host this conference at our school, that we couldn't just settle on one bid for 2017. In fact, we decided on the strength of the applications that we received to award the conference to multiple schools over multiple years. And so you see what's happening. The learned societies that shake things up and that are respected and known and that people want to be involved with, they schedule their annual meetings years in advance. And so you know that Law and Society is going to be in City X in 2018 and 2019. You know that the ALS will have its conference in 2018 here, 2019 there. Now you know that the YCC is going to have its 6th annual global conference in Turkey in 2017. We also know that we're going to have its 7th annual conference in Cleveland in 2018. And we're going to have the 8th annual, I mean, it sounds just crazy saying the 8th annual conference for the YCC at McGill University in Montreal in 2019. And so this is what happens when you have great people like we have on the YCC board, led by Ozan Varol now, and 4 other wonderfully talented, competent, excited, supportive younger scholars on the YCC board, all supported by the ASCL executive leadership with David Gerber at the helm. I mean, it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to know that there's all this support at the ASCL level for the work of the YCC. I'm interested in how constitutions change over time. And that happens in a number of ways. Constitutions change as a result of a formal constitutional amendment when we change the text, alter the text of the Constitution. But constitutions also change without an alteration in the text. So the Constitution will change in meaning, but not in text. And we call these informal amendments. And so I'm interested in both of these kinds of amendments, formal and informal. But more than that, I'm interested in how we interpret and reinterpret constitutions, how we make and remake constitutions, and also the question of revolution. So is there a difference between a revolution and a coup d'etat? What is that difference? And also the concept that's gaining increasing attention in the world of public law, comparative public law, is the idea of revolutionary constitutionalism. So what do we mean by revolutionary constitutionalism? Is that distinguishable, and if so, how, from other forms of constitutionalism, like democratic constitutionalism? What is the interrelation between the two, and also including other kinds of constitutionalism? So these are the kinds of questions that interest me. One thing, however, that really goes to the core of who I am as a scholar and who I've become is in fact, as you mentioned, an organizer. I like organizing things, I like bringing people together, but I like doing that for a purpose. And the purpose that I have is the same that I had when I was chair of the YCC from 2011 to 2015. It's the same that I have as I'm now chair of the section on law and religion in the ALS. The same purpose, overriding kind of objective that I have in what I do as a scholar, and that's to help support younger scholars. So for me, it was a wonderful opportunity to help lead the YCC, because it's exactly what I want to do. I was helping my colleagues, helping myself in terms of growing as a scholar, and to give opportunities to younger scholars to come together, exchange ideas, support each other, build networks, and integrate themselves into a field, the profession of teaching, legal teaching, law teaching, that is hard to integrate into. And so it was a way to help support younger scholars, and I continue to do that. It gives meaning to what I do, and it's so wonderful to see that the YCC now continues to be what it has been for a couple of years, and that's just the premier place in the world for younger scholars in comparative law to gather, to support each other, to exchange ideas, develop their scholarship, become better teachers as well, and to create a community that will not only be a community of thinkers, but also a community of doers, of supporters of political movements, of advisors to governments. So exciting time, and we have the right people at the head of the YCC on the board to make sure that it keeps doing what it's been doing. So it's an excellent time for the YCC.